Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network episode 69. Every episode in the green room before we go live, I can always count on Curtis to just make me crack up right before it goes fully live after that intro video. So thanks for that, Curtis. This is our weekly music production, marketing, and technology podcast. This week, we're taking a look at the new Voices Vocal Harmonizer from Bleass apps. We've covered them before. You can check out some of those videos in our ADSN clips playlist on YouTube. We'll walk through the user interface. That's Curtis's job today. And then I'll show you some ways to make some chord progressions using just your voice, whether you're a singer or not. There's some really cool pitch correction and even just straight chord flattening where it bakes what you sing into it or what you put into it into a chord. It's really crazy. And then in the marketing minute, we've got some weird YouTube shorts. And then finally, in the round robin, we're talking different ways to make VSTs, not just strings, but strings especially. That's on our mind today. But strings and piano sound more natural in a mix. Thanks everyone who's joining us live. Let us know what you've been up to in the chat, if any gear or plugins have caught your eye. And I also want to say hello to all of our Apple Podcasts and Spotify listeners. It keeps growing. We love you all. We're happy to have you here. If you want to help spread the word and help us grow, leave a rating, leave a review. It helps a ton. But of course, just hanging out is more than enough. I'm Sun Warper. With me today is Curtis. What's going on?
Dude, it's hot. It's sunny. It's amazing. Everything has lifted. Everyone's spirits is high.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been good. It's really nice. Yeah,
I love
it. I mean, it's always the summer's in full swing. And, there's just this notion around the city where people are just, in a brighter space. Parks are open. And people that sitting there are little jams everywhere you're walking. There are like little people having little jams out on the side of the road and in the parks and stuff like that, like completely impromptu. And you've just got two strangers just rocking up with a violin and a guitar and just jamming together and making musical beauty. It's wonderful.
Oh man, I love it. Did you walk up with some? Were you rocking out?
Well, me, my shy, introverted self, no.
Maybe one self of you that's not as introverted. You could have channeled that energy or something. I don't know. You know what you could have done? Brought your computer and just use voices to sing in front of them.
That's what I should have done.
I don't know why you didn't think of that.
I'm just an idiot. That's what it is.
No.
It's good. No, I work. It is something I've set myself the goal for the end of summer to kind of get to that space. So I'm all right. If it's a live set that I've constructed, I'm okay. And I know that when I live stream with, I just hit go and play, right? For some reason in my psyche, there is a difference between walking up to a stranger, someone I don't really know, and just saying, hey, play it, E-sus, and let's go for it. That kind of thing. It's
playing E-sus. Well, I don't think you should lead with the E-sus, honestly. that's probably why it's not working well.
Maybe, but yeah, it's a task that I've set myself up for by the end of summer. So we'll see where it goes. So
I was just gonna say, I love the fact that you just thrive supposedly on chaos, and then when you're actually in the real world walking into a chaotic situation, you don't like it. You want the control of Ableton and your buttons and all the pretty synth blinking lights. The duality of man, shall we say?
Exactly. I'm just a walking hypocrite. And so, yeah, that's the challenge that I'm trying to overcome. That's my journey right now. That's the thing on my. What about you, man?
Oh, man, I have been battling with this live setup, trying to get this is why I don't do DAW setups. I have everything running and into the MIDI and all that stuff. And then every time I record, after I finish recording, just one section of the audio just decides to go off time. So I'm still figuring out what that is. It doesn't seem to be a latency thing. And when it's recording, it's not off. So I don't know what it is. I'm figuring it out still. But there's a lot of time changes. Like it goes from 3/4 to 4/4 to 6/8 and tempo changes. So I have a feeling that may be causing some of the wonkification, shall we say.
Wonkification. I love that.
Yeah. So I'm still diagnosing it, but I'm getting there. And then I got a new song out today, which is really exciting. That's why we're talking the strings, because a lot of it is symphonic strings in the end, because it was originally written for a big romantic part in a webcomic. So yeah. Oh, I think you died out there. You still there?
Okay. I'm still here. I'm curious. We'll get into it later because we'll talk. I'm sure when we get to the round robin and talk about, I'm curious as to what strings you're using, where we're going, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We won't go there for now. But congrats on the release. I was jamming out just as we were going to go live. And,
yeah, I was trying to talk to you and you weren't responding, and I thought it was your internet was off or I was muted, and I was like, "Are you there? Are you hearing me?" And he's just, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just vibing out." Okay.
I was just vibing out. It's a good track. It's lovely.
Thank you.
And it's good fun. It's always fun to put it together. So I still need to do the visualizer, and we'll get there. It's been a busy week in the back office.
It's no big deal, man. We had priorities with that live set stuff, so it's all good. There's some goodies coming when that live set does happen, and Curtis was making it happen. So yeah.
Well, I have to go. You're using a DAW for this one, and are you using Ableton?
No, I can't afford another DAW right now, so I'm making Logic work for me, and I think that's why it's having some issues, because it's not, at least the way I use it is not really conducive for live performance. But so I've got a lot of MIDI being sent through a MIDI hub into all these synths, and then I'm playing guitar as well, and then I'm sending some of the synth audio into the SP, and then I also have chops of like piano parts and stuff on the SP and field recordings.
Cool.
So there's like this whole triple approach that it's crazy. So I'm still working it all out, but I mean, the set's done in terms of the songs and like the structure. It's just now making it work.
Okay, we'll get there.
So, yeah, we're getting there.
The Czechs have a saying, croc sa croquem, step by step.
Yeah,
we'll get there, bro. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone in the chat. Bendu, Survey Channel. Lovely to have you here. Thank you ever so much. I don't know if you saw in Discord Bendu's artwork. I was vibing on
I
that
did.
all
It looked
day.
like a spy movie through through Bendu's art interpretation. I loved it. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. So yeah,
he said just real quick though, that's the latest C90, his mixtapes. So it's coming out soon. So keep your eye on the Discord. I'm sure he'll share it there and on his socials.
Very much so. It's always a good one when C90 comes out. So yeah, we'd like to know what you guys have been up to. Apart from Bendu sounds like he's in a new place.
If I'm reading it right, I think Survey Channel said that I think he is doing the impromptu shoegaze and ambient jamming, unless he means when you were talking, Curtis, about out in public, jamming. But let us know, Survey Channel. Always happy to have you with us. And yeah, Bendu, as you were saying, Curtis says he's been working on a new place. Got it together this week to at least listen in live. We always appreciate you having here, Bendu.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really nice to see. So yeah, thank you ever so much. So let's get into it. We haven't got a chill one, guys. We've had a couple of weeks of really long 2-hour episodes. We were looking around, seeing what we could source, and nothing was really talking to us. And we said, you know what? We've got a few bits and bobs. We've got a lovely long piece on the new Bleass demo, but also we just kind of a bit of a chilled one. It's just us two this week. And when was the last time that someone probably just sat down and had a chat that wasn't business? So yeah, it's always good. Should we move along into it?
Yes, I think we should. But Survey Channel was talking about you, Curtis. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Matt. Here we go, Matt. Right. By the end of the month, there will be some sort of weird shoegazy ambient outside thing. I've said that. It's now said. It's now in the world of things. So maybe, let's see. When I get back from Slovenia, we'll have a look and see.
Somebody clip it on YouTube. Make a little clip. The remix. It's said.
Well, that's foreshadowing something in the marketing minute, isn't it, sir?
Yes, yeah. That's true. I wasn't even thinking of that, but yeah.
Very much so. Okay, let's move on to it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is our new segment, our only new segment for today. We're back with Bleass. Now, Bleass, we covered them a few months ago, when they got. Thank you very much for doing that. We covered them a few months ago. We covered them a few months ago when they had their Megalit out, and they were lovely enough to give us some codes for that. We tried it out, had a demo, had a great time, and it's since become a staple of both of ours inside the DAW. I think that's fair. Yeah. And so they came out with Voices last week, and we ever so cheekily said, hey, remember us? Do you want to check it out? We'll talk about it. And they lovingly did. They sent us a few codes for this lovely voice manipulator, or it's a sound manipulator. I think that's the fairest thing to say. It's called Voices.
Yeah, I believe they call it a
Voices.
vocal harmonizer, but there's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah. And so we've got 2 videos. We've got one from me, which is talking about workflow and how it looks and how to kind of process it. And then Sunwalker takes all that stuff and he puts it into an actual song.
Well, by song, like 4-bar loop.
Then a 4-bar loop is basically every beat ever made. So,
all right. It's the genesis of every beat, probably.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. Having said that, before we go to it, I've just seen Survey Channels. What Survey Channel is up to?
Let's put that up. I was in the brand, so
that is pretty fucking cool.
He says posted a snippet in Discord, our Discord. You can find it in the description. That's the stuff he's been working on, and he's got his brother working on guitar. So they're performing it live in September. Very cool.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
I want more video content, man. I want to see it. If I can't get to Buffalo, I want to see your lovely face performing. I want to see it. So we'll see. Okay, this is the Bleass demo, like we say. Let's jump to it. I'll leave you to push the buttons for that one.
Yeah, I got to make sure I hit yours because we both named it. Oh, no, we have different names. Okay, so we'll start with Curtis's. As he said, he's going to walk us through the user interface and all that. And then I'll just briefly, it may be a little bit of a retread, but going to walk through exactly how I'm going to use it and then how I use it. So let's start with Curtis's.
Before we cut to it, I just want to say we had our brief with each other on Monday about making these videos for each other. We didn't communicate about how to do this out, and it's striking how much the yin and yang plays into our intro.
I was going to wait until after they both played to mention it, but yeah, you'll see. All right, let's get it started.
Hello and welcome. Let me turn that off. Hi, hope you're doing well. Nice to see you. This is the new Bleass Voices plugin, which we've got a little first look for you. It's I don't know if you can tell. I think it's an amazing plugin. It's a harmonizing plugin. It's got pitch shifting, auto tune, voice doubling. It's wonderful. You can add modulation, sequencing. It's wonderful. And Bleass were lovely enough to send Sunwalker and I a code in order for us to have a dabble and show it to you. So yeah, so we're going to take a look. I'm going to take you through some of the workflow, and then Sunwalker is going to give you a bit more of a sound demo and integrating that into a song. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So let's take a look, shall we? As you can see from itself, there's a total of 4 voices. And as well on the left hand side here, you can see a little tuning block. Now, at the moment, I have that set to all. So whatever I'm doing, it's going to auto-tune whatever key I'm singing in, which is probably for the best in my case, let's face it. But you can set it to a certain scale. You can set it to a certain key. And also you can dial in how quickly you want that to be affected, the dry signal to be affected. Obviously, I'm using my voice here, but you can play this with guitar, you can play this through synthesizer, samples, you name it. If I just drag this out the way for now, you can see it's just in my effects chain. So yeah, it's awesome in that regard. It can also go on MIDI as well, which is awesome. So yeah, so right now this is the dry signal, nothing coming through. And if I do one here, it's a little the same, it's just pitched. I can take it and I can talk. Ooh. And I can talk like this, a bit like a Dalek, you know, it's kind of good fun. Or I can go all the way up here and sound like a little witch. Let's get rid of that for now. And we also have the Foreman, which does change, the voice change and everything like that. And this is the same duplicated across 4 voices. And it's really good fun to play along with. So suddenly, if I add a 5th, we have the medieval tones. That's awesome, that. And again, that can be independently played around with the format, for example, or to take it down in the mix, we can bring it up in the mix. We can even have some delay in there as well. It's a really, really cool piece. Personally, I enjoy going for all four. Go big or go home, as you might say. Yeah, the endless possibilities with this is wonderful. I really do. Now, we've only had it a few days. This is not a deep dive. Hang on, let's just do this for a second. There we go. Yeah, this is not a deep dive. This is only a first look. If you want us to go further in depth into what this can do, let us know and we'll make time and space for it. One other thing before we get on this modulation tab here, you can directly affect all of the parameters in here with LFOs and an envelope follower, which is awesome. So you can change that format, you can automate the format, you can automate the pitch or anything, the stereo widening, you name it. You can really have a chance to sculpt the sound that comes through this, and it's a wonderful plugin. So yeah, I do recommend it. I've been having a lot of fun with it. A couple of live streams ago, just dicking around and seeing what it can do. If you want to do the same, I would recommend it. You can get it. The link will be in the description below. But if I just... But for now, it's Sunwarper.
Well, hold on, because before we go to me, I want to read a little bit about what we've got with Bleass. So for right now, it looks like it's $49, normally $69. We will put a link in the description after the live stream. Curtis, if you'd be so kind as putting a link in the comments when you get a second while I ramble on about the awesome stuff it does. So it's an audio plugin dedicated to pitching, transforming, doubling, and harmonizing vocals and monophonic sources. 12 pitch shifted voices. 4 voices can be manipulated independently, as we saw Curtis talking about, and I do talk a little bit about it as well. So sorry if there's a bit of double, but at least it's the different ways we interpret it. Well, it's just we're just doubling to match voices. No, it's just the different ways we interpret it too. Also very cool. And we don't touch on any of this stuff that much in either of our demos, but there's extensive MPE support, 2 LFOs, an envelope follower, and a pattern sequencer. So if you want us to talk more about any of that stuff, let us know in the comments in the chat, and we will talk about it in a future episode. Shall we check out mine, or do you want to add anything before we go over?
No, go straight to it.
All right, here we go. Hey friends, Sunwarper here. Welcome to this first look at the new plugin from Bleass called Voices. This is a really cool vocal transformer and pitch correction. There's a lot you can do with it. Today, I'm going to focus specifically on using these 4 voices to create harmonies, even if you're not a singer. I'm not a trained vocalist or anything, but using this, even just talking, I can make some really interesting harmonizations, and I'm thinking chord progressions, maybe even some bass. So let me just walk you through a little bit of this voices section, and then we'll make something with it. To the left of the plugin, you'll see that there's a pitch correction. You can select what you want corrected. You can choose the key, and then you can set the scale. So you can do chromatic, major, harmonic minor, melodic, major pentatonic, and minor pentatonic. I'm going to stick with natural minor today. There's other sections: performance, MIDI, modulation, and sequencer. If you want us to do a deep dive into the full plugin, let us know in the chat or in the comments, and we'll cover that in a different video. But today, let's start with just taking a look at these voices. So with voices on, you can hear it's doing some pitch correction, but you can also drop the pitch and up the pitch. You can set it back to 0.
You can mess with the formant and get some really
interesting sounds.
And then there's also this setting called flatten, which makes every sound coming in one note that you set. So you can move it around, you can go up, go down, anything you want, and then you can combine that with other voices to create harmonies. So we could do, let's say, E and C. And now we can start a chord. Beyond that, though, using this pitch function, you could actually make harmonies just with what you're putting in. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So I'm going to set all of these to transpose, and I've created a chord from my voice by having it up 3 semitones, 7 semitones. We can also mess with the filter. Let's add a Logic drummer. Now, let's go back here, turn on Bleass, and we've got the chords. Let's record something in. All right, so I've added some enveloper from Logic to add some attack, and then I've got reverb and then Bleass. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so I've got the rhythm in. I just want to make a bass as well. Just gonna copy this over, and then I'm going to just turn on the one voice. Maybe we'll do 2 to get an octave, but we'll start with this. Let me turn the dry wet back up, and we'll drop it down an octave, and then I'm gonna make a second voice. Let's hear what this sounds like if we format it. Keep it at 0 and go down a little bit. Yeah,
Let's try that.
All right, so I've got the bass in. Now I just want to do a little shaping. So I'm gonna put enveloper back on, and then we're also gonna go throw an EQ on, up the bass, lower some of the high end. Let's see what that sounds like. That's perfect. So this was just a bit of a first look. If you want to hear and see more about this plugin, let us know in the chat, in the comments, and we'll definitely do a deeper dive into it in a future episode. Many thanks to Bleass for sending this over. It's a lot of fun. If you want to check it out, we'll have a link in the description. Now back to the show.
Well, I mean, we should say before anything else, neither of us said actually thinking about it, which includes the yin and yang side of things. They sent us the codes. They didn't tell us what we had to say. Like that's.
I figured you'd say that live.
Yeah, yeah. It's just us. It's just us vibing with this fantastic plugin. That's all it is, really. It is. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? That's the only way of describing it, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just you can see from us having fun moving the formant and the pitch. There's just so much experimentation, and like it made me think for a video that I'm going to do on my channel, like why don't I take this idea even further, make a bunch of chords using the actual flatten one shots, and then throw it in, of course, the SP, and make a song. And I think I might make drums using my voice as well and stuff like that, like everything from the voice. So yeah, it's a good way to get inspiration if you're kind of stuck with the keys, things like that, you know, stuck on using a piano roll, anything like that.
Yeah, I think I was doing a little bit of work on a project file late last week, and I was running out of ideas. And it's one of those tracks where I'm coming back to it, and it's just not quite there. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. And I just loaded it up, put it in, and just started wailing inanely down the microphone. And obviously, with technology, it sounded good. And you know, and it's a click right there, just inspiration off the bat. And before you know it, you've got an entire new layer. And I had a secondary. It turned the song from 3 phases of loops into a progression of something which envelops and gets wider into actually a whole track. So, and I haven't done that before. So that's wonderful. I mean, that's really a nice place to be. So, and there's so much there that you can do with just a little bit of tweaking. And they've got so many presets as well. So, yeah. That's what I have to say about that.
I didn't even look at the presets. I got to check that out. I just started messing with the pitch and was like, ooh. Yeah. So there's a lot of depth, I guess we can say. I would be curious first we're going to read a few chats, but chat, let us know your thoughts on this. Is anybody looking at buying it? Has anybody tried using their voice as an instrument, not just singing, but actually as chords, as sounds like that? But we do have someone else sitting in the green room right now, and I'd like to get his take on it, because I think hopefully this is something for once he could be optimistic about. I don't know, unless I mentioned some sort of Spotify integration, which I don't know. But that might be like the death knell for him were I to. But shall we get Eon Lake in and get his opinion on this?
Let's bring him in. Let's bring him in.
What's your take, Eon Lake? Welcome.
Have I taught you nothing?
Is that good or bad?
I can't believe neither of you put any drums through it. Come on, guys.
We'll get there. It's
That's
a
for the
first
next
look.
thing. This was a first look. Yeah, see, we had to do the vocal part first. It is called Voices.
Yeah, I know. No, it's interesting, isn't it? And this is coming from somebody who is thoroughly sick of auto-tuned voices and hearing robots on every flipping bit of music. And I'm still really interested in this one. Yeah, I think it could be really useful for what it's intended for, and it could probably be useful for things it probably isn't intended for as well. It is. The control looks really simple, you know. Yeah,
That was the biggest
quite like
part.
to
That
play
was the biggest part because I usually I don't want to like take a long time to learn stuff, and like I didn't even look at the presets. I opened it and just started going, and it was very intuitive and made a lot of sense. I do want to bring up a question from the chat. Maureen's friend says, "How was the performance CPU wise? Biggest problem I had with other vocoder manipulation stuff is it destroys computer performance." So as you can see, the project I did only had just a couple of tracks. So, and I was using my new M2 MacBook. So I can't really speak to how much CPU it was using because it wasn't really integrated in a full song. But Curtis, you were doing a live stream with it. First of all, were you using that computer for the live stream? So that's already a bit of an intensive thing. And then secondly, if it was a project you were already working on, should have had a bunch of other tracks. So how was it working in there?
It was absolutely fine. I didn't have a single issue. I was with my live stream. I think it was on Thursday, and it's a big project file. I haven't done a stress test yet. I was actually Maureen's friend. I haven't done a stress test yet. I've only ever used 1 or 2 instances at one point, but using my laptop streaming at the same time and mangling my voice to nothingness, I had no issues. It's not super CPU intensive, which I don't think any of them are, which is seeing as their heads up display is kind of versatile and kind of wacky, you'd make it think that it would.
I had issues on my computer that I'm streaming on right now, my desktop from 2020. I had issues with Megalit where it would be pretty CPU intensive. Yeah. I've yet to use that on the M2, and I didn't see any CPU problems with Voices, and I had just 2 instances though, no other soft synths or anything like that.
See, that's promising. I've got a fairly hefty laptop. It's not anything like a tower or anything, but it's a fairly hefty laptop, so that's where I'm kind of going with. Never had a problem. If you're curious, I can run a stress. Maybe just load 19 instances of Voices and just see what happens.
I'll tell you what. Maureen's friend, chat, let us know. Do you want us to do a stress test on these? We can do it with, because I have the M2, you have a Windows, so we can show both on Apple and on Windows how it is, and then Eon Lake can just judge us for not putting drums through it again. You know what? Maybe if we do it, I'll put some drums through it. I don't want to see you sad. I need that frown upside down. Okay.
There we go. Should we do some chats before moving on?
Yeah, we've got Abby in the chat. What's going on, Abby? How are you? And we've also got Survey Channel saying, "Always wish I snagged the Electrics Warp Factory a few years ago when it was 300." I don't know what that is, so feel free to let us know. Eon, like, do you know? Because I hear that. That sounds curious. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, let us know, Survey Channel.
I'm gonna definitely go to Google on this one.
Okay, like warping stuff though, don't we?
I mean, I do like that word. What can I say?
I mean, I still have the TC Helicon C1, which is basically a hardware version of it, but it's only one voice, so you have to double it out. But this is a great piece of kit for hardware kind of stuff for this. But again, which is obviously no CPU because it's not in the computer. I don't know if that was clear or anything like that.
Not in your laptop.
It's not just stuck on it, you know what I mean? But just it is really deep and versatile for what it is. I haven't seen any issues with it. I've got nothing bad to say about it. I mean, the price is $49.99. We haven't said the prices. It's $49.99 at the moment, and it will be $69.99, I believe, if that's correct. Yeah. Normally $69.
Yeah, I don't know when that sale ends, but if you're looking to grab it, it's a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time to get it. Love it. It's all very good.
A bit more context of Electric's Warp Factory is the sound of tobacco and Black Moth Super Rainbow in a box. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sold. I just need to know what it is. That still hasn't been given.
It's incredibly cryptic, but
I know
love it
now
at the
what
same
it can
time.
sound like, but what is it?
Interesting.
Sounds like two very good strains, if you ask me.
No, those are good
So
bands.
it's not
Yeah, they're really cool. But I still don't know what the actual Warp Factory is. Is it a pedal or is it? Let us know.
That's good. Yeah, we'd like to know if that's been useful to you. This is the of the week, so to speak. Hey, that rhymes.
Wait, say it again
and
because you cut out, at least on my end.
That is our plugin of the week, so to speak.
There we go. Okay, good. Yeah. See, I didn't want to miss out on that because you were like, it rhymed.
Oh, good. But if there's anything that you guys have found in the week and you want to let us know, curious, again, put it in the Discord or something like that. Love to hear what we've missed. Like we said, we had a pretty small week in terms of news. If there's anything that we've missed, anything that's caught your eye, please let us know. We love hearing from you.
Ian, like, feel free to speak up too if anything's caught your eye.
What have you been up to, dude?
Using that Cherry Audio free synth, the super fat Mogi one.
The MG1?
Yep.
The Bendu special?
The Bendu special.
Yeah.
I downloaded it, and yeah, I'm having some fun with that.
Yes. Oh, really quick. It's a rack mount vocoder. Perfect.
Oh,
that's what we needed. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Survey Channel. He says, and it can take any signal really. So yeah. Now I understand
anything
what
but
Bendu
drums.
means. Now I understand what Bendu means, saying it's a rack mount or the sound of tobacco and Black Moth Super Rainbow.
I used to voco drums and synths quite a lot, so you ended up with a synth playing chords that had rhythm.
That's interesting.
I like doing that, so might be something I do again with this plugin.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. That is cool. You had a good week of it then, Eon Lake. It's been fun. It's been productive.
I've been noodling around. Yeah, things are coming out of it as well.
Really?
Things I might keep.
Yeah.
Things I might even release. Yeah.
It's always a tough one, isn't it? Like you come back to your project files at the end after a session, you go, and at the time it's like, this is the best thing I've ever made, and then you come back to it a few weeks later, and this is the worst thing I've ever made.
Yeah.
And it's just that.
I feel like I usually have the opposite. When I'm in it, I think this is the worst thing I've ever made. I take a break and I come back and I'm like, it's decent. It's pretty good.
That's that yin and yang.
I've been doing the opposite. I've been doing the late night vibing, going, this is good. I'm really into this. The next day, that's a bit of a mess, really. I don't know if I can save it.
I come back to the notion of like it's about the pockets, right? And it's like when you're in that flow state, when you're in that, you can see the pockets for what they are. So you can make those layers, and they all make sense because they've been progressing, and it keeps on going. And then you come back to it in full later on. Yeah. And it's like those pockets and that context is not there anymore. And so it just looks like a mess. And it's like, okay. So like, I've been getting into the habit recently of just like any automation that I did in the live set or anything like that, I just delete straight off the bat and just everything down and then just bring everything up differently. Obviously keep all the sends and returns and all that, all that jazz, but like the level and the gain stage and stuff like that, like it's the only way forward for me. It's the only way to stay sane.
Shake it up.
Yeah.
But yeah. A lot of people in the chat are our patrons. And hello, thank you. We love you. Thank you ever so much. Wait, there's a banner that we have for that. And that one there. There we go. Hey. I've got to change this banner actually because it's cutting off Eon Lake at the neck. But I'll get to that.
And your forehead.
And my forehead. So yeah, let's just do that. So
if I sit upright, it cuts mine off too. Yeah.
I'll do some, maybe just put it in the middle. I need to have different ones for when different people are in. It's a learning curve, this StreamYard, but we are doing this banner for our patrons is only one of the things that we get because of our patrons. And we thank you for that. We thank you ever so much for your support week in, week out. We love the fact that you're in the community, and we really appreciate the fact that you come and sit with us week in, week out. And yeah, we love having you around. So thank you ever so much. Yeah, do you want to take that some up and run with it and give me some?
Yeah, of course. Maybe you can grab the website real quick so we can just show it. But yeah, we have additional content like podcasts, hangouts, the full, usually unedited or just extended versions of demos that we do, of sounds and synths and things like that. Like there'll be a full version of the demos that we did for Bliss over on the Patreon. Last week we had the triple cheese demo from Curtis. There was a longer one. So you can head to patreon.com/audionautic if you want to join. There's also an exclusive Discord chat, Twitter group, and like we said, podcast hangouts where it's just with the patrons. And this is the website. Thanks to Curtis for pulling it up. We have a few tiers. So if you want to help support the channel, here's where you go. But of course, just hanging out is more than enough. And yeah, Curtis, anything you want to add? Or Eon Lake?
Eon Lake first, because he's better than me.
Hangout is always appreciated. Anything extra that you want to do is just absolutely wonderful. Thank you to everyone who does.
It's a great way of putting it, yeah, for sure. Our next, just for you guys, we have had a bit of a scheduling change because it's summer and people are doing things out in the quote unquote real world.
What is reality, man?
Exactly. That's where the bunny rabbit is coming. But our next hangout will be on the 23rd of July, so it is a way off. It's a few weeks away. I'm away next week. Sonwarper's doing his thing the week after, and so yeah. 23rd will be the next one. And if you're a patron, this is where if you want to become a patron, this is where we really nerd out. This is where we really kind of we're sitting there on my Sunday evening, Eon Lake Sunday evening, Sonwarper's Sunday morning, and we're just talking about nerdy stuff that the family would just roll their eyes. It's basically a safe space for producers to sit and talk and put their heart on their sleeve without be vulnerable, without feeling like they're boring their family. Come say hi.
Yeah, we could talk about the Electric's Warp Factory and no one would roll their eyes. And on that, really quick, I do want to share from a patron who is a drummer. He said that no drums through it. Don't even think of it, drummers. Yeah. The vocoders and drums are, I guess, a no-no from a drummer. But we do have a counterpoint from Eon Lake, who is also a drummer, and that's all he insists upon doing. But yeah, we appreciate everyone who heads over to the Patreon. It means a ton. It helps us do more of these types of things, more of these demos. We were able to buy a couple different plugins previously, thanks to our patrons to demo and show off. So yeah, if you want to help us do more of what we do on this show, on the clips, things like that, head over there.
Yeah. So okay, that is.
I think I floored Curtis for a second.
Yeah, I'm just stunned. Just got lost in your eyes, brother.
I was like, I think he's flashing back to the song he was listening to before. That's what he was doing when I was like, Curtis, are we doing this? And he's just glazed, just listening to the new song. Yeah.
Well, we started talking about Starstream, and I remember the last Starstream we had when it was you, me, Thomas, and a few others. And
don't forget Eon Lake. He's here too.
Yeah. But I was going to say, and others. And
Eon Lake deserves more than and others. Come on.
And and we were just all supporting each other through through our journey as creators and producers, and that's what I really like. Like we were sharing stories about how it is on the other side of this screen that we're on and what we're up to and where we're at, and the camaraderie was lush. So yeah, it's nice. So yeah, marketing, as they say. What's going on in the world of marketing?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I know you and I and a few of our patrons and viewers do live streams. And I had just done one last Thursday, and I and you, we always say to make some clips out of the live streams, both using YouTube's internal shorts maker where it will put a link to the video you're clipping from, but also, as we say, to use captions, do it with a caption maker like CapCut, something like that. But what I typically like to do is right after my live stream, make a short through YouTube so that the next day I post it to kind of have a link to be like, here, check this video to see how this beat was made or whatever. So I did that, and then I edited the live stream and took out the long intro and the outro and stuff like that. And then I get an email, and Curtis, I sent it to the Audionautic email. So I get an email that's like, your short's been deleted after it had already gotten a couple hundred views or something. Nothing crazy, but exposure is always good. And since that's the point of that reel, so they just said, oh yeah, we deleted this. We deleted this short. And I was like, well, I looked at the live stream. There's no copyright claim, nothing like that. But scroll down a little more. It says why, I believe. They don't get, it's a very generic email, but that third the third one in that first section, there were edits made to the source video like blur or trim. Now, I had made all the edits before I made the short, but for some reason, it still must have shorted it out, so to speak. But yeah, so it's just something to keep in mind if you are using that. It does say that the views and metrics will all still be counted for, but the video is just completely gone from analytics, like completely gone. You can't see it. It's just not there. So that was a bit of a bummer. So just wanted to give a heads up there. There was another bit I had mentioned before, and I don't know if I can find the link that I had sent Curtis previously because it was a while ago, but I had mentioned asked if anybody was having issues with their shorts getting lower views or odd numbers of views. And I found, I'm trying to see if I can find it, but YouTube did respond to someone on Twitter saying since like late May, there's been an issue with shorts. Something with the algorithm getting messed up. So I'm going to look for it. You guys mind just talking about that for a second while I find this?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that they have this function of they have this remix function, and then you use that remix function. And the remix, we all know what a remix is when you kind of put your own spin on things, and then that gets taken over. It seems like a bit of a, what's the phrase when things don't compute? It seems like a bit of an oxymoron in that regard. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's they're reeling from from the dead internet theory or anything like that. I don't know if they're trying to do makeup for that or anything, but it seems this combined with the problems with shorts that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, we've just started doing shorts back up again on here. And, it seems to be more of the same in that regard. So you've got to kind of drill that up. So it's a difficult time to be a YouTuber, I think. In short,
yeah, they're shorting us. In short,
they are shorting us. There's a whole load of mess going on at Twitch. There's a whole load of mess going on over here. I feel like we're in the right space for it, nonetheless. But it's just in a world where it's ever more conflicting and difficult to get yourself out there and market yourself as a personal brand. They don't help, do they? It's almost as if they don't want us to succeed. They're not helping.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's their point, right?
Ian Lake, what are you saying?
I guess as long as someone's succeeding, they'll be happy, right? We need to see somebody doing it right, so we'll all keep plugging away at it. But I don't know. I think for all these platforms, the algorithm is potentially the most important thing, right? That's all your invested research and so on. And, messing it up in any way with a bad change seems to be pretty much the one thing you don't want to do. I mean, look what it did with Instagram.
I was going to say, yeah.
And at a time when there is a bit more rivalry from more, shall we say, Japanese-owned platforms, Chinese-owned. It's just you're just giving a loaded gun to your competitors, really, if you go messing with your algorithm too much.
Yeah,
it's. I wonder if they have in this notion the idea of the greater good, like they're having a difficult today for a better tomorrow. But I just YouTube has been from the offset. It's been kind of constant. It's not a social media really, It's not in a similar vein to like Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. So it's been pretty solid as just like a search engine to get good videos so that you don't have to think about your life when you're eating your breakfast cereal, that kind of thing.
The one thing I would say, though, is that unlike social media, YouTube long form content, not shorts, has a long lasting effect, whereas a reel just disappears. No one sees it after a while unless the algorithm really blesses you. I use that word not literally, but like really shows you and keeps exposing you. A short or a reel only lasts for a very short amount of time, whereas a long form video, if it's evergreen content, as the YouTube gurus like to call it, will keep getting recommended. And over the long form, you still get, how many of us, let us know, chat, how many of you still get recommended videos from 5-10 years ago? I go on YouTube and on the front page, there's videos from like 8 years ago that are still relevant, and YouTube is still pushing that out. Curtis, I think you got it up, but I sent you that tweet that I was talking about.
Yeah, I've got it. It's here.
Okay, so here it is. So someone said, Team YouTube, I noticed my shorts suddenly stopped getting impressions as if they're banned. I haven't violated anything. Could it be a bug? If you scroll down, it should show the additional. Yeah, there we go. Team YouTube says, we're currently aware of the issue and looking into it. We'll keep you posted as soon as we have an update. This is May 30th. And then the next day, the person on Twitter said, hey, yeah, still having this issue. They said, no update, but rest assured we're working on a fix. This is back in May. And no one has said anything that has changed. So if you do make shorts and you've noticed this issue, let us know, because I seem to be having this problem. And Curtis, you make shorts. I don't know if you've been having this problem at all, but my shorts views have drastically altered compared to my long form content, which is still getting recommended at like the normal amount.
Yeah, it's the same way, same on my end as well. And again, because it's interesting, because again, a year ago, 18 months ago, they were pushing shorts. Shorts was their new thing. This was going to how, and even at the beginning of the year, everyone was so hyped out shorts. We did a 30-day what you need to know about shorts, you know, and then they went and fucked with it. Like, come on.
But don't forget, the cycle always repeats. Remember Instagram? Everything was do reels. And then a year after reels were a big thing, everyone started saying, my reels are tanking. I'm not getting any views anymore. You'd go from posting a reel and it could be, you know, pretty just like mid reel, right? And you'd get like 5,000 views with the channel, or if you only had 800 subscribers, then you'd start posting it a year later. It was like 300 views, 100 views. It's the same thing happening again, it seems. Now, YouTube is saying, hey, this is a glitch or something. But that's what, almost exactly a month ago that they're saying, yeah, this is a glitch. We'll figure it out. And then it seems to still be the same issue.
It's ridiculous. Well, we'll have to see where it goes out in that regard. You never know. I mean, maybe Mastodon will start doing a reel. Maybe that will be the next thing to do instead.
Yeah, maybe. And real quick, Survey Channel just wants to add, salute your shorts.
Appreciate that. That is the marketing minute for this week. Very quick one. And so we shall gander across the round robin, which is also brought to us by our very own Sunwarper this week. Where did this come from, Sunwarper?
Where did this come from? Well, that song that I put up today had to have a lot of orchestral arrangement. And so I was just doing everything I could and that I knew and didn't know and was learning to make the string sound as human, because I have guitar in the song too. So there's a real guitar being played, which, you know, has off times. I didn't quantize it or anything. And then so it's like, how do I get these synthetic sounding strings that are on grid, or maybe not on grid if you perform them in, which is one spoiler alert, but how do I get them to sound more human, to kind of blend with this guitar and things like that? So I wanted to hear from all of us, because I mean, I know Eon Lake, as our resident wizard of engineering magnificence, can always give us some bit of insight, but I know Curtis, like on Reclamation, uses a lot of strings and stuff like that. So yeah, I wanted to hear from everybody. And chat, if you use strings or even piano, what are your ways of livening up or humanizing these sounds? And I'm sorry, Curtis, can you just quickly give us for those new or listening on Apple Podcast, give us a description of what round robin is? Because I'll butcher it if I do it. So
I'm not sure that's fair, but I will go for it anyway. This is our roundtable discussion section of the show. We take an idea, be it about modern music production, be it something like this, where we're talking about MIDI. We might talk about something existential, like the worker's progress, or things like imposter syndrome. Or we might continue the marketing minute. Basically, it's a discussion piece. And we take it, we bring it to the community, and we all chip in and we all share our ideas under the banner and under the notion of together we grow. Because sharing our ideas and not keeping them behind locked doors is how we all feed into each other and get better at what we do.
Yeah. So who wants to start?
That's a shrug. I'll take it.
Oh, that's a lot of silence. Let's go with Curtis.
I'll take it.
Maybe Eon like isn't gonna spout some wisdom today. I don't know.
We'll see. I'm gonna start, if I may. I'm just gonna pop straight to Ableton. If that's okay. I'm gonna bring this up.
Oh, my eyes! My eyes!
So I don't know. We tested the sound beforehand. I'm not testing so much the sound here. I'm not so fussed about the sound so much, but this is a little template I have for strings. So I've got bass, cello, viola, violin, and violin too. What I've learned, and I'm not an expert with anything like this. I just have a lot of stuff and play around a lot. Layers. I love layers. If you first and foremost layers. Here is a basic one: bass, cello, viola, and 2 violins, and that's because of the presets that I've got in Complete Control. Thank you, J Bell, for giving me access to Complete Control. By the way, just to say, I wouldn't have it if it weren't for J Bell. So thank you very much indeed. But the more layers, the better, I find. You can always double up. You can always mix within buses and then create bioses within buses to create this very full, dramatic effect. You can never have too many. And you can move, especially if you're using MIDI, which we're discussing here, channeling that MIDI into different places and having slight variations within the MIDI itself creates those layers in their own right. So from the offset, many different instances of violin, viola, cello, basses, etc. And then at the same time, changing the MIDI up in between that as well. For me, at least, when it comes to the MIDI itself, as you can see here, I think that I can't zoom in, but if you can see here, the MIDI itself is ever so slightly extended beyond the line of where that cutoff is. That is to remove any obviously it is a MIDI expression, to remove any of that stop and starting, anything like that. That's what I do in that regard. So I go in, I create the MIDI file that I'm doing, the chord progression, and then I go in we can't do this live, but you go in and just change, just slightly push the MIDI at both ends of the line itself to kind of keep it moving in that regard. That's where we go from there.
Is that because you've got a sound that has attack on it if you're playing it for the first time, but if it's legato, like you've got overlapping notes, the attack is less pronounced and it sounds more natural?
Essentially, yes. So you have the ability to change your attack and release independently anyway as well. But I find with the sampled instruments that it's not the same as having an ADSR on a synthesizer, for example. It's a little bit more clunky. And it's a little bit more, well, it's more digital. It's more kind of off on. So the attack and the release is not as smooth as you'd expect it to be or want it to be. It's probably a better phrase for that. And so that's why I extend the MIDI, just to create just a more legato effect in that regard. That's what I'm doing.
Interesting.
One final thing.
Nope, you're done. I'm just kidding.
One final thing I like to do here is automation of expression. So as you can see here, they're all over the place and they're all slightly different to a degree. This one doesn't have any, actually.
How dare you?
That's why I just need to go back in my hole. That's what it is. But yeah, this is, I drummed this up quite quickly ahead of the show, but even getting the pen, just literally drawing it in to make it a little bit more human. That's a really good way of doing it. This is a bit.
Yeah, the way I like to imagine it is you're actually using like the bow on the violin or on the cello. So you're making it's attack and release and things like that. But if you were to play a cello with a bow, it would start a little quieter. And then as you go, it gets louder. So you're doing that. And so you really want to focus to make that MIDI line look or feel like it's being played by a human hand. And that's a really good way to do it. If you're using a very simple string plugin like a stock DAW one and it doesn't have that, most do by now, but you can also do it with just volume automation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that is essential, because it really takes the sound from being a long held chord, which isn't very realistic, and then turns it into something that could be done. And yeah, so that's my 2 cents for now. I'll shut up because I've done a lot of talking in the last couple of minutes. So that's me. That's for me for now.
Yannick, what about you?
Well, this is not something I've done for a while, especially as far as trying to make it sound real. So,
do you typically go for fake?
Well, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Like you want the strings to sound fake.
I love
or synthetic.
Yeah, I love the sound of a mellotron.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And sounds that are a bit like that. And I've got no problem with, letting it sound a bit artificial and a bit aged and so on. But when it comes to real things, I suppose you need to remember what it is that makes it sound the way that it does, and its complexity in a number of different areas, which is kind of what we've already touched on, isn't it? So layers, obviously. I think if you're trying to do this without a multi-sampled instrument, you're gonna fail basically these days. A good complex multi-sampled instrument is key. I would also pay a little attention to what people do when they play these instruments. So obviously there's a lot of expression. If you're able to introduce vibrato in places and in the way that a real player would, that comes back to Curtis's point of automation. I mean, you could map it to a mod wheel and just dial it in certain places and so on, but everything about playing a stringed instrument is about expression. So you need to start thinking about how you can get movement in the way that the part is performed. Also give a thought to arrangement. String sections don't always, they very rarely play block chords. There are usually interleaving parts, and notes don't always start at the same time. And sometimes there's a bit of call and answer going on. So, think about the way that you're using the instrument and use it in a similar way to the way that, people who arrange strings do, so that there's, some overlapping parts and so on. Another thing is ambience. If you want to try and make it sound like a real space and panning and so on, you may need a convolution reverb or something that sounds pretty natural, not something maybe too bright. If you're going for reality, that is, to maybe take the sound that they've got and make it just not quite so small. Blur the edges a little bit. Personally, I'm a bit sneaky. I do sometimes put in a synth pad really quiet in the background.
You're stealing everything I was gonna say. No, I knew it. I knew we'd have the same thoughts.
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, when I used to record stringed instruments, often they'd have pickups like acoustic guitars, and sometimes you get piezoelectric pickups and stuff, and they sound horrible. They absolutely sound horrible. What you get from bowing a string is that vibration, that air, the top end of it. Mm-hmm. So if you're thinking about layering sounds, and you are sort of backing it up with something artificial just to maybe try and make it sound a little bit fuller, you want to keep the top end from the real sampled instruments and maybe have something a little bit duller behind it that is perhaps a little bit thicker. But yeah, I mean, these are the kind of things I've always messed around with in the past for trying to make things sound real. And it's never been easier because, the instruments that you have now and the complex way that they've been sampled. But in order to actually make use of that, you need to be careful about your note velocities and whether or not you put the automation in to make it, to try and give it the intonation of an instrument that is being played that way.
Velocity is huge, especially, I mean, even without multi-sample, just to act as like a volume thing as well. Those are all big. I want to expand on a few of them that you talked about.
Yeah, go for it.
And a big one, and you said kind of like know the symphony, right? But what I really like, and if you have a really good sample or sampler or plugin of it, it will do it for you, but know the octave range of each instrument. So you're not going out and it's doing a lot of pitch shifting and things like that, or transposing to get there. But beyond just octave range, it's knowing the like place in the performance of each instrument. You want the violin to be something and you want the cello to be something else and things like that, kind of like what you touched on with things starting at different points, but also like, would you do a chord, would you do a single note on these and things like that, just kind of knowing. And another thing too is like, if you're doing a violin, add a certain type of horn or flute underneath it playing the same thing or similar, or things like that, like you said with synths. And then in terms of reverb, what I found really helpful was a bus reverb that the only audio, like everything gets sent in there. It's not a bus in terms of like, I guess auxiliary as well or whatever, but it's not a bus that you're putting only, put 50%. It's like everything is being sent into that one thing. And I have reverb, a little compression to kind of glue it together, stuff like that. Yeah.
Something I've been doing with reverb recently is putting saturator on it to try and bring out harmonics with the reverb a bit.
Oh, and one other thing I found really helpful is every part, like in Curtis's example, if you don't mind sharing the screen again, if you still have it. If not, it's fine. But like and this works with piano too, or anything really, guitar, whatever you're doing. But if you put each performance or notes slightly off from each other, just nudge them around a little bit. Especially like if you've got a violin and a cello, put them a little off from each other because you want it to kind of sound like different humans playing those parts.
Yeah.
So within each performance as well, like if it's just violin and you're playing multiple notes like a chord, have those slightly a little off because the bow's going to hit one first and then the next and the next. So very slight nudging. But that's what I was saying. Say again?
Use your ears though. Listen to what you've done because there's a difference between human feel and making it sound like a string section that can't play very well.
Totally, yeah. And I'm talking like micro nudging typically.
Yeah.
Typically, unless you're going for that sort of like, like each note is slightly off from each other. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting way to kind of add some humanization, so to speak. But that was the biggest thing for me, is that slight off time thing. And that's what I was saying at the start, where I said if you perform it, it's kind of baked into the performance. Of course, you can fix it with quantize, depending on how much, like you said, you don't want to sound like just a bunch of bad performers or something. But yeah, it's finding that middle ground. But that helps a lot because no human is going to play literally on the grid perfectly. So
yeah, I mean, you might do that deliberately. I mean, it's particularly relevant with things like piano, where unless you want every note to sound at exactly the same time, you might put little trills in and deliberately do that. So yeah, it's attention to detail. I think putting the detail in the performance is going to make a difference that I don't think you're going to make up any other way.
And Eon acted like he didn't have anything to add to this. Look at him go.
He's always got something to add.
What were you going to say, Curtis?
I was going to say, it's interesting you talk about attention to detail, because when you said the word trill, my brain heard troll. And so you're going to add little trolls to your composition. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then, then obviously my rational brain came back and went trill, because that's a thing that we do in music. That kind of thing. So, what I'm trying to say is with that is the notion of, pay attention to. I think it really comes to attention to honing in on that attention to detail. It's one of those where it's not something that you can whip up improvised and expect it to be great. It's something that you do have to sit and do a little bit of surgery on. And I think that's okay. It's the other side of production. It's that sitting down. It's that kind of looking at each individually. How does the bass talk to the cello? How does the cello talk to the viola? How do the two violin channels, for example, on this template here, how do they interact with each other? And then, and then build them out. Then go, okay, how does the high end talk to each other? How does the low end? How's the mids, etc.? It is very much, it's more surgical, and that's fun. I think that's the fun of it, is the fact that you're not. It's not like dancing around late at night and having a late night session with the synthesizer. It's methodical. It's calming. That's the way I see it.
I suppose the other thing is, do you know anyone who arranges strings? Because it is an art, and learning what they do overnight is not necessarily an easy thing to do. See if somebody wants to weigh in a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And it also depends on what your intention is, right? Like if you're going for a full symphonic thing, you definitely may want to consult with someone who does that. But if you're just trying to add some strings and cellos and violins to an electronic song or an ambient song, or just kind of as a part of a whole, maybe you don't need to know that, but it is still good to know sonically what our ears expect from these instruments, so that if you're going for that natural sound, they will sound more natural.
If I may, on that
No, you may not.
Well, I'll shut up then.
I keep saying
that-
this to you today, but no, you just keep asking. It's like, just do.
I know. It just stemming from what you were saying. I think it's important to kind of talk about the sound itself. There are lots of string VSTs out there, but I think a lot of it comes down to your root. Like, what are these sounds using? Are you using good sounds? Now, there's a lot of stuff out there that's really expensive. Spitfire Audio in general, they got some amazing sounds, top quality sampling, also will destroy your bank account.
But they have labs, which is all free.
But yeah, so they have this Spitfire Symphony Orchestra Discover for absolutely free. It's free if you fill out a survey, then wait 10 days, and then you can get another one, which is fine.
And you can save an additional 30% if you're a student or educator.
You can
30% off of free.
You can, and it's sorry, they're already trying to sell me something. Hang on,
be like, we're on a podcast.
We're on a
Hold
podcast,
on, bro.
Yeah, but don't. Okay, so for example, what I want to get across to you is, or the people listening here, is that you can get really high quality stuff for free, and it is also a case of sometimes paying a little bit if it's something you want to take seriously is better in this regard. I found better usage out of using a decent VST with absolutely no EQ, as opposed to using a crappy violin VST and then having to EQ the hell out of it.
And track it up and maybe pitch one down and pretend it's a cello and stuff like that. There are all these things that you can do, but your mileage will vary a fair amount. And having something that sounds good to start with when you're trying to make music is always the easiest option.
Yeah,
very much
well said.
Exactly. We'd like to know what you guys in the chat and watching back, and the new people who are over on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. That is a growing set of people in there, and that's really nice to have you there on Spotify podcasts and Apple Podcasts. So thank you ever so much. Let us know in the comments, and let us know how you tackle strings with MIDI. We'd really like to get more of a well-rounded view of how everyone is processing and producing their strings.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, together we grow, right? That's the whole point, is we share all this stuff. That's the whole point of the show. We share all this stuff so that we can learn from each other and learn with all of you. And that's like what's so awesome about our Twitter and Discord, is that we're always sharing works in progress, talking about different things. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the best parts of doing this. And like, I just got some stuff from Eon. Like, not everything he said I knew, obviously, and that's the point. I wanted to learn from him, because whenever I have questions, my first question is, what would Eon Lake do? And so I ask him. I have the luxury of being able to ask him.
Have you got that tattooed on your bicep?
No, but it's a shirt idea, you know.
That is, yeah. It is.
What would Eon Lake do?
Might come up with that. That'd be quite fun. New line of tea. He talking about this, like t-shirts of Eon Lake wisdom.
Stop being busy and make one.
Yeah,
you're the one that makes the shirts.
What would Eon Lake do? I'll see what I can do.
I need one of those t-shirts.
well, for you, it should be, what would the whiteboard say?
Yeah.
You know, and then for us, it's what would Eon Lake do? And then he just by proxy asks or looks at the whiteboard.
Yeah.
And we're good to go.
It doesn't come from me. It's just random stuff.
Yeah.
I am just finding something, and so I'll let you guys move us across to the last bit of the day before we shut down.
Yeah, Eon Lake, what have you got going on this week?
What have I got going on this week? I'm going to continue my experiments in my little play tray. At the moment, it's just laptop microfreak. Microfreak is clocking subharmonicon.
Nice.
And I'm messing around with those voices and exploring patterns and polyrhythms and stuff. And songs seem to be coming out of it pretty quick. But I'm going to be writing shorter songs in future. That's one thing that I'm going to be concentrating on. After disappearing up my own backside since I started, I'm going to try and keep things a bit briefer in future.
How brief is brief? That's what I want to know.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not every song being over 7 minutes, you know.
That's a shame. That's
You
it.
two and your long songs. You two and your long songs. Curtis, what you got going this week?
Yeah.
I'm off to. Well, I'm not here next week, as you two know, but people listening won't know. I'm actually off to Slovenia next week. I'm gonna go do a bit of hiking, a bit of camping. Never been to that part of the world, Slovenia. Apparently, it's beautiful. So I'm just gonna go get in nature and just sit, put my toes in the sea. Well, not the sea, the lake. That's probably a better way of describing it. Seeing it's
Water.
fresh, not salt. Water.
Something of water.
Something wet. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm taking the week off. I won't be here next week. It's just going to be you two. But I will be back the week after. So that's what I've. Oh, and it's obviously time to feed the cats as well. Yeah.
What's an Audionautic show without an appearance of Steve,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, buddy. What are you up to? So yeah, that's me. I'm taking a week off. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna get some field recordings because you're never really always off the clock, are you?
Not as a musician, no.
No, but I will not be on my phone. I will not be at the laptop. That's going to be the best thing. I think just a week away. I try and just reset a little bit. I think it's good.
Get some inspiration as well.
Yeah.
You gotta live life if you want to write songs about it, haven't you?
Exactly.
Another shirt.
Another, yeah.
The front could be what would Eon Lake do, and the back could be like gotta live life if you want to write songs about life.
We should just get
with like a little picture. Eon, like, don't you have that pillow? We should just get that pillow of you as the
I think like at some point I'd like to go through the back catalogue of ADSN and just pick up on every time that we talked about Eon Lake and his shirts, and then just turn that into a clip show. And then then I would know all the t-shirts I need to make.
There
That's
you
the
go.
thing.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to help me out with that, please.
Clip show.
Exactly.
Not all of them came from me. I know. I can tell you that.
But I mean, you are the wise one, so it kind of has to be. Do you mind? I'm in the middle of something. So yeah, I've shared the playlist. Let's divert from.
Oh yeah, real quick though, just I want to say thanks to everybody who's checked out. I want to say thanks to everybody who's checked out the new song and the new artwork for Music for Imagined Landscapes. It means a ton. This was a really important song for me because I wrote it when I was finding out about that my wife is expecting our first child. So was just I channeled everything into that song. So it means a lot. Everybody saying just resonating with the song and things like that. So just a big thanks. If you want to check it out, you can head to my Bandcamp or the Spotify. And onto Spotify, the song is actually on the Audionautic Radio playlist, which we are so close to 450 likes on it. So if you want to check it out and if you dig the sounds on it, hit that like. Tons of independent musicians on there, as well as some of the big names of like IDM. I got that new Aphex Twin song front and center because, man, I love that song. It's really good. But yeah, if you want to check it out, head to the link in the description, the Spotify playlist link. But yeah, we're getting close to 450, which means 500, which just, I don't know. I mean, it's just a number, but we appreciate everyone. Together we grow. And that's the point of the playlist is we put everyone on there. If you submit, we give it a listen. If it fits, we get you on there. But it's just artists supporting artists and trying to grow beyond that. So yeah.
Very much so.
And Steve approves. He's running away right now, but he's just hungry. But typically, Steve does approve.
He does. He loves the Audionautic Radio playlist. So, what have you got going on, Sam Walker?
Yeah,
that's trying to do music promotion. So yeah,
there you go. Okay.
The dreaded music promotion for the song. I don't really know if it's gonna fit much, and that's fine. I didn't write it to fit playlists, But
yeah.
But yeah, there is a guitar and piano only version as well. So I'm gonna see if I can that I put on Spotify. So I'm gonna see if I can kind of work one of the two. But I really like the original where it expands with these big orchestral bits and stuff like that. And that was a lot of fun working with those strings. I really tried to hone in on making them sound human and this big bombastic section where it builds. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. Not my usual type of song, but that's what this needed for the commission part. And then just when I was writing it from my own experience, I was like, yeah, let's just throw on more.
Why
So,
would
yeah.
it?
Yeah. It had a very much a Shady vibe, a Joshua James Whitman vibe in that regard.
Yeah,
it's really nice. It's a really good track. One of the favorites so far of Forever Becoming. So
I'm curious, have you guys? Yeah, I was gonna say because that the point of it was a callback to an earlier episode of the show, and so I used some of the parts of that original song I scored for it. So the first one I did last year for this webcomic, The Eagle and the Snake, was Forever Becoming parts 1 and 2. And then this one, as I was writing it, because it's like same characters, things like that, I was like, well, this is part 3. And so have you guys ever tried doing kind of like reprisals or things like that of your music, you know, bringing aspects back from a song, but in a new context?
No, but I've meant to a lot. I love that stuff. I love it when other people do that, and
Yeah.
I like it sometimes when it's buried a bit, where there's like a theme that you reuse in a completely different context. It's not actually obvious at first that it's the same melody or something from another part. Yeah, I love that thing, especially on albums, you know, where you can have a reprise of something. I have done things like that in the past, but they've got chopped because of length issues. It wouldn't have fitted on.
Can't be 30 minutes long.
Yeah. So no, none that I've kept.
Curtis, what about you?
It's something I've toyed around with and never done to a high enough degree that I want to put it out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's that in short. That's where it's at. I've given it and I've attempted it and gone, and then just not, and it's kind of gone into a B-side, or I've kept unreleased, that kind of thing. I keep trying. I'm halfway through an album at the moment, and there are definitely more reprisals and like rhythmic similarities that are coming on through, which I'm actually for the first time quite happy with. So that we might see a bit more of moving forward.
That's interesting, because I felt kind of weird doing it. Like, I knew it was for this song in the context of what it was scoring, it made sense, but like releasing it, I was like, is this just retreading? But I mean, it's in a completely different light, but it's like there's parts where it just literally is Forever Becoming One, just like kind of reinterpreted in this new context, like just the guitar part, like a callback, right? It just felt kind of like weird, but when I listen to it, it makes sense. So I like that you're doing it on purpose. Me, I did it on purpose, but I was like, I don't know if I should. I think it's the right move. Just I think that's my imposter syndrome, being like, is this?
Yeah, I think it's one of the benefits of being involved in doing that kind of music and scoring is to get involved in themes, you know, for characters or certain, you know, have a set of themes that you play with and how you can invert them and change them and so on. And the way that can feed back into whatever other writing that you do. I mean, surely that's the fun of it.
And chat, let us know, have you done any reprisals of musical themes, chord progressions, rhythms, melodies, anything like that from one song to another? Like, I know, was it in Tomorrow's Harvest, Reach for the Dead and Come to Dust from Boards of Canada? They're like reprisals of each other to a degree, but it's interesting when you do that, and like other bands have done these reprisals in the same album. I kind of like that like callback thing, but I'm curious if anybody has done that. I'm glad to hear Curtis is giving that a try, because it's interesting. So how are you doing it, Curtis? Are you adding, just like bringing melodies back in, or reinterpolating them?
Or
interpolating.
Yeah, like just kind of like you're interpolating it. Interesting. Yeah.
I'm just kind of, I'm taking the melodies that are there. Like I say, it's more rhythmically at these points. So we're talking, because again, so it's quite bluesy and it's quite kind of jammy. And so, you know, the way that my hands are striking on the keyboard, for example, or the way that the guitar is being strummed or something like that, they're coming through in similar veins. Then like lead lines and that are coming back through, but maybe a bit mangled. I'm using a lot of bit crush at the moment, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
That's again, if Maureen's friend is still around, the Tritic Crush. Thank you for that. That will forever be the gift that keeps on giving. It's a beautiful plugin. And so I keep coming through with that and then just slowly distorting. It's this idea that, without getting into it too much, this idea that this notion, this feeling exists and then keeps decaying into nothing, and so it keeps getting more distorted and destroyed as time goes on. So there is this notion of harking back and kind of so we'll get there. We'll get there.
That's cool. Yeah. And on the notion or topic of Maureen's friend, he says he has a reprise. That's right. Yeah. On one of his albums, he's got Comet and then Comet Reprise. So yeah, That's cool. And he says,
Yeah.
"Heck yeah!" about the Bit Crusher. I gotta check that out. I'm
It
so
is
slow
great.
to check out plugins.
Great. It's a great plugin. It's the best bit crusher I've ever used. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Maureen's friend gave it to us in I think it was a Lightspeed back in the day.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's
Yeah,
like-
when we were asking for
Like 18 months ago now at this point.
back in the day, yeah.
Back
Less
in the day.
than like 2 years ago.
Yeah. In another in our when we were in our chrysalis form. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still use it on most things that I've got. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful plugin.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
that's always good.
Mm.
So yeah, thank you very much for hanging out with us. It's been great. It's a great show.
Yeah. I love how we
gonna-
said that this was going to be a short episode and it's still like 1:20.
Yeah.
Shorter than 2 hours. We're getting there. We're getting there.
We did ask last week actually if you guys prefer the longer or the shorter episodes. Let us know because we could keep bouncing and we just don't know.
It's like shut up entirely.
Let us know what's going down. I'll definitely for sure miss you two and the rest of the people in the chat next week. There'll be a little bit of me sitting in Slovenia going, huh. But I'll
Well,
also be
you
on
know
the
what? You know what you could do instead of the Spaceman? Maybe you could make like a new little brand thing for us so we could. Where is it? I don't even know where little dude. That's gonna do there it is logo. Hold on. Maybe instead of like we could switch around. You know, instead of StreamYard Lake or Audionautic, we need like a little Curtis. You know, or
Just
like
put the little chimp. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, or like the little chimp or something. Like just upload a little PNG of that, and we'll have you forever with us. You know.
That's what I'll do. That's
Yeah.
what I'll do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well then, has anyone got anything else to finish on before we?
I just want to say thanks for watching and everybody in the chat. It's always the best part of the week is talking with all of you in the chat, talking with you guys here. Curtis and Eon, like highlight of the week. But if you got some value out of the video, just leave a like, share it on Twitter, socials, anything like that. It helps a ton. But we appreciate you just hanging out. Eon, like anything?
You like it.
I hope you like it. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. Well, these two, we'll see you back in a week. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And much love. Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you here.
Now, what if I just hit the Bliss demo again as the outro, where it's just like, hello, just this.
Hello.
I can't help it. I love that we both did that.
Great way of doing it. So play the intro, play the outro, and then we'll get going.
Oh yeah, and if you want to check out the Bleass Voices, the link will be in the description. It is in the chat, but it's probably buried a bit because of the rest of the chat. But we'll put it in the description at the end of the video. Like we said, it's on sale right now. So if you're looking at using vocals or voices, it's the way to go. And let us know. The question of the week is: have you used voices or voice, your own voice, other voices in a musical fashion in songs before? Because it was really inspiring doing that, not even from like a vocal standpoint, but using it for chords and like the things Curtis was doing at the start, just like those melodic sounding spoken word bits. It's interesting. So I'm curious to hear. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.